Hey, it's been a while since I did one of these. I'm gonna do a pastel now. A pastel painting, drawing. Um, it's a landscape I'm using as a reference photo. A photo I took at the villages of Florida and villages of Lady Lake, I guess is what it's called. And there was a sailboat race happening that day. There were remote control sailboats out there, and Robin and I watched them and photographed them. And so I'm going to use one of those snapshots and do a pastel painting from it. Okay? All right, let me turn the camera. We'll begin the fun. So that's the picture I'm using. That's the photograph. Robin printed it up on 8.5 by 11 paper. Just ignore this sketch. That was me goofing earlier. So, all right, let me get another blank piece of paper. Make this paper there. We'll use that side. I think one side has got more porosity. Porosity? Is that the word? It's porousness. You know, like the three bears, they had porridge in their bowls. So, okay. Hope you enjoy this. I got my tea. Here's my tea. So, I'll try to explain what I'm doing as I do it. Okay? I thought I had a bigger brush out here. Alright, so first I'm going to put some rubbing alcohol into a glass or a plastic cup. That's what I'm doing there. I lift it up to the camera. And the reason I do that is so that I can have some to smear around the pastel when I want to. I don't do it for everything. Now the sky is blue. So therefore, I'm going to use an orange kind of a undercoating. So let's just do that. Let's just figure. I won't use this whole picture. I'll just use like that part right there. Come down there, up there. Yeah, we'll kind of do it like that. The reason I use orange is because it complements blue. So this is going to be the undercolor. And the water is kind of a blue-green. So the undercolor for that, let me think what that would be. Opposite of blue-green. I don't know what that would be. Yellow-red, I guess. Yellow-red is orange, isn't it? That's funny. It works out to be the same, but it's two different tones, so. And it doesn't have to be neat, it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be there, okay? Now this is mostly green, very, very, very dark green. So some kind of very, very, very dark red. In fact, you might not even think of it as red. You might think of it as this color right here. You see it? I don't know what you call that, but that's going to be the undercoat for the trees, and I'll have to figure out something with the buildings too. Use some blank spaces for them, because I'm not sure what I'm doing with them. But the idea is just to sketch in a very, very, very rough thing here. I think I've got to put more shoreline here, even though it doesn't show up in the picture, but I think it'll look nice if it has a little bit more foreground here. This side too. So it kind of wraps around a little bit. Yeah. Okay. Now it's a little bit, maybe make it a little bit richer. Then the water is it's more green than it is blue. So I guess I need more red than I do orange. So I'm just gonna I'm just going to kind of put a red undercoat there. And if this picture is good enough, I'll put it for sale somewhere online. I'll let you know. There's little sailboats in there too, and those will be added later on, maybe, or maybe not. So because it's blue-green, the green has got the red, the blue needs a little bit of yellow, maybe a little bit of orange. I'm gonna throw a little bit of that into the mix. Alright, now because the paper is so pitted, because it's watercolor paper, I am going to spread it around with that brush and that alcohol that I showed you earlier. So it becomes very much like a painting. And the idea is to just kind of spread it around so it goes into the little holes, the little openings. And then I'll let it dry. And once it's dry, I can just paint over it with the pastels. And hopefully we end up with a good picture. It's always kind of scary when I do this because, you know, there's no guarantees that it's going to come out looking good. But you can already see why I do this. And oh, there's lots of white clouds also in the sky, so we want to make sure we put them in there. I like those white clouds. They are, to me, very interesting visually, and will be even more interesting if I can exaggerate the contrast a little bit. That's kind of one of the secrets of a good composition, I guess you could say, is to figure out a way to exaggerate the contrast a little bit. The lights and the darks, the sunlight from the shadows. So, anyway, how you guys doing anyway? Let's see. Robin went to the grocery store. I told her I was going to stay here and paint or draw. I guess it's a mixture of both. You can't see on the camera, but I have a bird feeder out there, and there are two birds on it right now. They're eating. I kind of like sitting out here watching the birds eat, and the squirrels. I feed them. I feed peanuts to the squirrels, raw peanuts. And the crows love the raw peanuts. Oh my gosh. The crows really love the raw peanuts. The crows will see me coming out in the morning with the raw peanuts. They actually wait for me. I also have a couple of bird feeders for hummingbirds. A couple of hummingbird feeders. And the bird feeder that you can't see. I'll turn the camera for a second just so you can see it. See it? One is a bird feeder my son made when he was, 7 years old. And then there's a picnic table looking one that I bought at Walmart or someplace like that. Alright, so you see how this alcohol is spreading out all of the color, of which it'll all be an undercoating. It's not going to be an obvious color, but it's going to be there. It'll peek through, and that's what I like. You know, you have to have some white peeking through too, obviously. I should have probably left more white for the clouds, but I forgot. So I pretty much got the white, the sky, covered with alcohol and scrubbed into it. Now let me do the tree line and the building. I try to keep some of that building area. late, but I don't know that I'm doing such a good job with that. But that's okay. Everything is fixable, I think. Pretty much everything. Pretty much everything. So if you don't know where I am, I'm in Florida. It's May 7th as I do this, 2021. COVID, the pandemic is not quite over, I guess. It depends on who you ask. I'll be glad when it's over, but I guess I'm not the only one who says that, right? I'm glad when it's over. Everybody says, I'll be glad when it's over. Yeah. Well, I don't blame you. Me too. So I'm scrubbing this in here and getting that alcohol to bring that pastel to a liquid form and work its way down the little nooks and crannies of the paper. And you notice I'm not being very careful at all. I'm spilling alcohol, it's dripping down the paper like watercolor would. And there's a certain thing about that. I kind of like that look. You probably know what I mean. Just that artsy look, that flair. Yeah. So Robin and I have been doing walking videos also, mostly just to walk. But we had read somewhere that some people like to look at walking videos as a way to virtually get out of the house because they can't get out of the house. And so we started doing it for that reason. And some people use them on their treadmills, which is kind of interesting. I guess if you're stuck in the city apartment or something like that, and getting out and running or jogging is not easy, or maybe you have to get up so early that it's just not practical to run in the dark or walk in the dark. We don't run. We walk. And we've been putting on about 2 miles a day. One day we went 7, believe it or not. I was way worn out that day. But you know, when I was younger, it wasn't a big deal to walk so far. I will put this up as a real-time video so you can see in real time how I do this, but I think I might put a speeded up version on YouTube also. So, almost done with the undercoat part. Just have to rub in some more alcohol across this reddish, orangish area. I should probably do this left and right motion because that's the way the water goes. The water in the lake. And there's not a whole lot of, the water's kind of rough looking, so it doesn't reflect a whole lot in the photograph. I probably will take liberties and change that a bit. I'll probably put more reflections in the water than you can see in the photograph. Today's the first Friday of May, and in Ocala, where I live, the first Friday they have an art show. Artists come out and they show their work, and I do not participate in the art part. I know you probably think I do, 'cause But what I do is Robin and I, we play music. She plays the mandolin, and I play the accordion, and we play like French songs, Italian songs, and instrumental. We don't sing. And then there are artists up and down the streets that the community comes out and looks at their art. So it's something we enjoy doing. I don't know, I never really wanted to do the art part of it for myself. I kind of like doing the music part. So. Plus, you know, the art part, people are selling their art, and I don't really want to be out there selling anything. It's just like, I like bringing, and Robin likes bringing the ambiance that music brings to an outdoor event. All right, so there you go. Now that is a sloppy picture, right? It looks very sloppy. Doesn't look like much. I'm going to give it a little bit of time to dry. So I think I'll turn the camera off and turn it back on when it's time to continue, okay? All right, let's get back to the drawing. Pull a little closer to myself. All right, now we have the sky. Let's start with that. I'll put some blue up there and leave room for clouds. Go right there, and then I'll put some white in for the clouds, and I will add some gray to it for the shadows under the clouds. I might put purple, some kind of violet underneath them for the cloud shadows. Everything's still in the very rough sketchy part of it, very rough. There's a violet, a purplish color. Where's this? Where's the camera? Where's the camera? Right there? So that's that. Let's see. A little bit of undercolor, close to the tree line. I might rub some of this in. I think I will. I think I kind of have to. Okay, I was looking for this. This is a insulation for a pipe, like PVC pipe. So rub some of that blue into the sky. Starting to look like a sky a little bit, huh? A little bit. Not quite there yet, but It's starting to. It'll be there soon. No need to worry. Let's put a little more definition to the white for the clouds. Especially the tops of them. Okay. I think I'll put more purple in there. Accentuate the shadows a little bit. I like the purple as a choice. Not always, but for whatever reason, I try it, and if it works, then I keep it. Otherwise, I can go to Payne's Gray or something like that. If this was paint, I probably would do Payne's Gray. But with pastels, because pastels have such a cool way of being vibrant, but you don't want to, use them and not take advantage of that vibrancy. Does that make sense? Yeah, that makes sense. You guys okay? Forgive me if I just ramble on about nothing. The videos are fun to do. Hopefully they are somewhat educational, if not entertaining. But it's not always easy to talk when you're doing it. So I'm going to add a little more blue to this sky. I think what I have to do is add some white to that blue. And I'm going to blend some white in with that blue. See, the white, well, the color, whenever you use a color on top of a color, it sort of does the same thing as the blending stump does, or in my case, the insulation. So what I want to do, I'm going to find a deeper blue. Here's a deeper blue. I'll give a little more richness to the blue, I think, in some places. Just a few places, just to give it more contrast with the clouds around it, That's starting to look good. Hope. Just smear it a little bit more. And then I'll add some more white and make those clouds hopefully pop out a little bit better. And you can already see that the under painting is pretty much obscured, but it is peeking through. And that's what we wanted. We wanted that to peek through. Trying to be selective about where I scrub it in, but to be honest, it's looking good if I just scrub the whole thing in, and then I'll add more white to it to bring the white of the clouds back out. Yeah, I think that's what I need to do. So you can see it looks like the sky now, but these clouds are not very vibrant, so let's make them vibrant. And the other thing is, you know, when you're using a photograph as a reference photo, if you're doing a portrait, then you want to, you know, stick to it. You want to make sure the likeness is there. But if you're not doing a portrait, if you're doing a landscape, unless it's a specific building, you know, like the Empire State Building, or something that you want to capture the likeness of, whether it's a person or a building or a pet, for that matter, then you have to stick to everything. But if you're just using it as a reference and not as a model, let's say, you can kind of take a lot of liberties, which is exactly what I'm doing, especially with clouds. There's clouds, you know, a photograph of a cloud, that what you're seeing in that photograph only was there for that 1 microsecond. I mean, 1 second later it looked different, except on a very unwindy day. But for the most part, you can have fun with clouds. And I think one more time I'm going to add a little bit of purple for the shadows. Shadows beneath the clouds. I might just do what I wasn't going to do and use gray. Let's see how that comes out. Oh, it's a little too gray, isn't it? Yeah, that gray may not be good. That gray may need to be rubbed in there. And that kind of ruined it, didn't it? But only temporarily. Because see, I can rub it in. And actually, that's not too bad. That little bit of a gray tone at the tree line is working out. I'm going to have to add a little bit of white to that, I think. Okay, so I think that's going to be the clouds and the sky for now. And I will turn off the camera and be back for the next part. All right, now I'm going to do, there's some buildings in there. I'm going to try to sketch them in. I sharpened a pastel pencil so I can do some of the fine stuff here. And then we will work around that. Just a kind of a little easy going sketch. What I like about the reference photo is that there's a lot of light happening on one side of the building and a lot of dark shadows on the other side of the building. So I just want to capture some of that. most of this building is being obscured by these trees here, but there's enough of it showing. There we go. So this is going to be the tree line here, and there, right there is all those buildings. So let me add some of the things that'll make it pop out. Some of the contrasting shades. I'm going to use this one. That's a peachy kind of a color. Put it in there. Right side of the building. And then there's a piece of a wall right here that has some light hitting it. Here. Everything might need to be refined as we get deeper into this part. Yeah, it's pretty much two tones. So I'm gonna use that tone for that, and I'm gonna use this kind of dark brown. It's a bit more than it is in actuality, but for the pastel, for the picture, it gives it that contrast that brings it out. So, and you know, your mind does you a favor by looking at things and figuring out what they're supposed to be. That's kind of why art is so interesting, because a lot of times, you know, you see something differently. Well, almost always you see something differently than what's really there. I mean, a perfect example would be, you know, when you see a picture of a person, you don't really see that person. You see a picture of that person. It almost seems obvious, right? But we don't think that way. We see a picture of a person, we feel like we're looking at the person. Even in the movies, right? You're looking at a movie, and the person, the actor or actress on the screen, is not really there. Just an image, just an illusion. Okay, now this part over here, the roofs are a little bit kind of half lit. So they got a bit of red in them. I'm going to exaggerate it quite a bit. Get some red in there. There we go. In fact, I think I'll do a little bit of that red throughout the dark areas of the buildings. Yeah, I think this building used to be a church. We walked right up to it when Robin and I took the walk where I took this picture, and it was no longer a church. It was like a recreational building or something. Now you can't see it very well, but it's there. There's like a stained glass window right here. So I'm gonna put it in there. It's got a little bit of reflective light happening on it. So I will make that very obscured because you almost can't see it in the photo, but it's there. All right, and so there's those buildings. This might need a little bit of darkness added to it. Might not be quite as bright as that. Okay. I do have a blending stump that I'm going to use to push some of that in there. Okay, so there's those buildings in the background. Add a little bit more light to them again. I made it too dark. It's a balancing act. Now I'm going to take that same brown, this brown that I was using, and kind of put some very deep tones in certain parts here just to underscore some of the deeper shadows from those trees across the lake. It's pretty much across the entire bottom, but not completely. Let's put some of that light in there also. Some of that lighted area. Alright, I'm gonna turn off the camera and, oh, it's getting windy. Just take a break for a second, I'll be right back. Let's add some of the dark green. This is dark green. I'm gonna kind of just smudge it in everywhere these trees are. I already have the dark brown in there, and I'm gonna add just, I don't want to make this too heavy because I want to add some light green to it to show the light reflecting off of the trees in the distance. But you get the idea as I put this down, you start to see the tree line better. Add those trees, the base of the trees, the bulk of the trees. Now I'm going to use a yellowish green, and put some of the reflective light. All right, it's not working too well because this is not the best paper. Watercolor paper is not the best paper for this, but there it goes. You have to kind of work it in, I guess. Just put some of these light colors. Now, one solution to the problem, if the tooth of the paper isn't picking up the pastel, is to spray it with workable fixative, which I do have, and I will use it if I need to. I'm trying not to. It's happening now. It's working now. because I just had to push a little harder. You know, the idea is the light's coming this way and it's hitting the trees from the left. And there's lots of trees back there, and they're all different depths. So, you know, the light kind of finds its way to the surface of the trees, the leaves, etc. And also the color, this particular color is a little bit of an exaggeration. Again, we want a nice painting. We don't necessarily want a nice photograph. Right? If we wanted a photograph, we would just take that and print it up, and there you have it. All right, now I'm going to leave that like that because I want to come back to that. Only reason is because I want to see how it contrasts with the water when I add the water in there. Okay? So now it's time to do that. I think the best thing I can do is like a Payne's gray, which, like I said before, if this was a painting with paint, it's kind of an easier color to narrow down. But I think what I might have to do is mix a couple. All right, so I am going to just use this. Just to put it down a little bit. Keep in mind this is water, so there's a lot of light reflecting off of this water, so I'm going to keep this very, very sketchy. So when I decided to wait to do more to the trees before I put this down, I could already see how the two are working together. So what I will do put some horizontal lines to represent the ripples. There we go. Now, I dropped my pastel. Okay, now what I want to do is I'm going to scrub that in, rub it in with the insulation. In fact, I might do that with the trees too. Do it very light rubbing. Obviously we don't want that. You can see how this should be darker than this. So, but I had to put that down first in order to make that work. So now let's lighten it up. Lighten it up a bit, a lot bit, a big lot, a whole lot. Let's lighten it up. Okay. can see in the distant water is more a solid white or light blue, and the closer you get to the camera, so to speak, the more spread out those ripples become. Now, we can't forget that we're going to put sailboats in here, so that's going to be a challenge because the sailboat's sails are white. I might need to make those sailboat sails a different color. So you can see how the white picks up the blue from the blue-gray that I put down, kind of like a Payne's gray. But it will not pick up the red, pretty much, because the red is all, it's fastened to the paper with the alcohol. I heard that, there was a bird. A dove in the bird bath. Still a lot more work to do on that, obviously. Come on. The wind wants to do its thing. All right, now let's put some more dark in there. I might have to go back and forth a few times between the dark and the light. I don't want black, and that seems to be what I'm finding. Maybe I want to exaggerate a little bit. You know what? Let me try to exaggerate a little bit. Let me put some of these. This color doesn't really exist in this picture. It's called, I don't know what it's called. Bluish green. That's what it's called. Bluish green. Hey, well, it kind of is bluish green, isn't it? So maybe this will work. So the idea is to make this look like water. And you almost can do it the way you drew water when you were a kid, you know, just the waves. You know, you don't want to be too obvious about that, but you can kind of do that, same thing. Back and forth, back and forth. And what I want to do to make it a little bit more watery is, I said this in the beginning, I want to add more reflection than is actually in the photograph, so that'll be part of what I do too. Plus, don't forget that sky. That sky would be reflecting into this water also. Off the easel. It's the lower areas of the paper. Okay. All right. Okay, there's that. I think what I want to do is this. I think I will add some black, just to darken some of these shadows in these trees a little bit. Give it a little more contrast. The problem with black is that black pastel is powdery, you know, so the powder, it's all powdery, but the black especially can really get into the areas you don't want it to get into. So it's not that you shouldn't use black, it's just you have to be real careful about controlling it. But you know, even if it messes up, it's usually fixable. The other part about black is that if you have to paint over it, go over it with another color, it might not work out too well. So that's another time when you would use fixative, and I just may end up doing that, depending on how this looks. So now you can see a little bit deeper, some deeper tones there. Let me add some of those lighter tones again to create there's like a beach over there or something. This is a kind of sandy area. And I'm doing exactly what I didn't want to do, was to put this over black, but if it doesn't work, I'll have to redo it. Okay. That brown pencil I sketched with, put these windows into this building. Now I think I want to add a little bit more brilliance to these trees. It's not there in the picture, but a little bit of yellow might help it out a little bit. Just kind of speckled around here and there. Just a few places where maybe the sun is just a little bit more bright, or maybe where the leaves on the trees are a little younger and a little more brilliant, to kind of rub it in. Until I'm working it. Okay, you see that? Is that working? What do you think? I think it's working. Another trick might be to add a little bit of orange to that here and there. Just kind of push it in there. Yeah, just a touch here and there. All right, now I still got to worry about this water here. I'm not happy with that water. So I might rub this in a bit. Because it is water, after all. And even though it was rough water when I took the picture, it might work out well if I smooth it out a little bit. Smooth it out a bit. Okay, it's coming together. Let's stop the camera again and be back after a break. All right, let's try, let's use charcoal pencil. Because there's a lot of little waves in this water. So I'm just gonna put them in there. It's gonna take a little time to do this, but, and then I can always go over them. Now, charcoal is, of course, black. This charcoal is anyway. And so that might cause a problem. We're going to find out together. So this is where drawing and painting come together. Because much of what I've been doing has been kind of painterly. And this is very much drawing. Very much. I especially want to pull some of these black down into the water to give the effect of a reflection. I'll keep doing this across the entire part of the page where the water is. However, see, the further I get back here, the less that is necessary, but I do need to darken it just to give that reflection some depth. Because there are some reflective surfaces on the water there. And the closer we get to the camera, again, the bigger strokes. I watched a guy one time who was doing waves, and he's very, very good at it. And he approaches it in a scientific way. He measures, and then he divides by certain fractions. I don't know how to do that. And I don't remember his name, so I can't recommend him. But put it this way, he was very good. And he used math and science to figure out how to space the waves. And in my world, I kind of just do it by feel. I guess it's there's a science and there's an art to art. There's an art to art and there's a science to art. So. And you know, another thing that this little bit of black is going to enable me to do by making the water a little mixture of dark and light, because in essence that's what it is. It's going to make it a little bit easier to put the sailboats on there. So some of this will probably not be covering the whole page. As I look at it now, I can see how it would benefit to keep it not the entire area, and instead put some lighter colors in there. I'm thinking like a lighter green of some sort. So that's what I think I'm going to do. Just a moment after I get a few more of these charcoal marks on here. Okay. The wind wants to take away my reference photo. Okay, so there we sort of have started to look like water, right? Trees are reflecting into this water, so I want to make sure I represent that. All right, now I have somewhere in here a light green, like a baby green. Here it is. This is the color I'm referring to. And I'm gonna put some of them on there. Same kind of motion. To give it that water effect. It's almost undetectable to the human eye how the water transpires from one section to the other, but it does. So I'm gonna try to take some clues from the photograph. I'm gonna bring some light into the water as a reflection. A little bit of light from this house, that building right there. Even though it's not the same color, it's still the light. And there's also, I don't know if you can see it, but there's also some straight lines in the back. So some of them are black, and I'm going to use the charcoal for that. They're just like tree stumps. And then some of them are white. I'm not sure what they are, but they are there. So I'll put a couple of those in there and let people wonder what they are, because I don't know what they are. Some things that are back there. Maybe they're flagpoles, or who knows what they are. But they are there. And once they are there, guess what they do? They reflect in the water. I don't actually see them reflecting in the water in the photograph, but I can make them reflect in the water. Now that looks pretty good. Now if I take some of this green, this light green, and add some of that to the water, now you start to see that reflection happening. And you get the feeling that you are looking at water and not just a piece of paper with a bunch of marks on it. See? And then I'll take that brown that I used for the building, and that's not the right brown. Here's the dark brown I used. couple of places. That's pretty good. All right, now I'm gonna sit back and look at this, turn off the camera, and kind of make some decisions about it. I think a little bit more dark has to go there. But I think the sailboats should be in there. What do you think? All right, I'll be back. All right, let's get the, I think this will be the last installment for the picture. So I'm going to use black, since I was using black. I might as well use it a little bit more. I'm not happy with this area right here. I think it needs to be a little darker. I think that little white line is a little bit too long. A few more shadows in that tree. There we go. Just a few more reflections in the water. A few more dark areas. Maybe we can even put a hint of a few rougher ripples. You know, it's like when you paint grass. You know, you don't have to paint every blade of grass. You just create a field of grass, and then you put a few blades here and there. Okay, now I'm gonna put, hopefully, the sailboats. Now let's hope this doesn't ruin it here. All right, so these are toy sailboats. These are not real. So they're kind of small. And all the sails were white that we saw, I think. So there's one. There's another one. There's one. You know what? I think 3 is enough. And of course they have bodies to them as well. I might use the pencil for that, since it's such a fine little area. And I'll put the staff for the mast, whatever you call it. There's the little sailboat, the bottom of the sailboat, the boat itself. There's the sailboat. Okay. Now, of course, the one thing we need is some reflections in the water of the sailboat. So I'm going to do that with the same white that I did the sails with. And a little bit of reflection from that beach, I think, in the water. Maybe some of that house, that sunlight on the house will reflect in the water. And one more thing, I think the sails are a little too white, so let me add a little bit of blue to them. I don't think they would be completely free of shadows. I'm sure they would have shadows themselves. They're just so far away, it's hard to tell. Okay. Well, there it is. I think that's going to be the picture. What I will do is sign my name to it and call it done. What do you think? Huh? Alright. There we go. I'm gonna move the camera over there so you can see it. Okay, so there it is. There's the finished pastel painting. And I'm not gonna change this. I wanna show you something. It looks like a bird. It was quite accidental, but I'm gonna leave it there. That way people will say that it looks like a bird. Alright kids, that's the whole thing. Thank you for watching. I'll put this on the website now, the YouTube page. Alright, bye.